In regards to video game law, what is it about video game law that you like so much? And what are you trying to do in that space?
I love the integration of all the various elements, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. I love watching something go from concept to release. Okay, somebody comes up with the idea of a game. Now I take it one step back. What I love about games, okay, is I don't care what you're interested in. I don't care who you are. There is something in the gaming space that could and should appeal to you. Examples. I'm a big chess player. Okay, I love playing games like Panzer General or Civilization 6. These are turn-based games that are very in-depth strategy games. Some historical, like the Panzer General, or even the Civilization stuff, okay, where you really have to, it's a turn-based game, and you get to think the way through the strategy, and your success depends upon your ability to understand how to operate, sometimes tactically, always strategically, and do that. So if that's your thing.
Yeah.
If you like playing tennis, the simulation, I love, like golf. We're all golfers, okay? You can actually, there was, I forgot who the player was, but going into a tournament, it was several years ago now. It was kind of a rookie at the time, but I don't remember if he won or was like in the top 2 or 3.
Okay.
He'd never played the course before. The only thing he did was he played whichever golf game was available at that time, because the simulation of it is so real. Okay. He knew where he wanted to land the ball. He knew the distances. He knew the greens. He knew the break of the greens, all from the simulation. Similarly, a NASCAR driver, same thing. He said he'd never ran the track. It might have been like Talladega. I'd never run the track before. But the simulation was so precise. He said the shift points were within about 1,000th of a second accurate. So he knew before setting foot, car, wheel, tire, whatever, on the course, where to brake, where to shift, because the simulations are that good. Madden football, NBA, 2K, the 2K stuff, the simulations are so good that if you like the sports, or if you want to play, there's a really clever one in Oculus, right? That's for Alice in Wonderland, right?
Okay,
if
I
you
haven't
like
seen
that,
I love Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, dive into this world. You're living in. I mean, the point being that if you like strategy, if you like first-person shooters, if you're playing some of these first-person shooter games, you get the sense. One of the things I loved about The Last of Us, the timing. I've never been in a gunfight, but I feel like I have after walking out of some of those shooting things, like where you're popping up to shoot and then you're ducking down and you hear the bullets whizzing by. You're like, wow, this is an experience.
Last of Us, I don't know if I told you, but we, when we had an agency, we did some PR for it for PlayStation, and we got a Vanity Fair article because we used the hashtag ruin porn, because at that time, food porn, ruin porn, but it was so realistic and just so well done. The ruin of the cities that it became their angle in the story.
Yes.
So it's super immersive that way.
The simulations, again, fighter pilots really have been training in simulations for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Okay. The simulations are getting more and more advanced. The point being that I think no matter what you're into, there is something that that you can find an interest in. I like. I'll get to your question in a minute.
About the law part,
I like games like The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption, because it's not a passive medium. You're not just sitting watching a TV show or sitting watching a movie, which I love. I'm a huge movie guy. But you're not watching the story. You're not watching the character. You are the character. And it is your decisions in these games that enable you to progress through the story. And the stories, they're attracting A-list writers and directors and producers. And so the stories are very in-depth and very powerful, and you can become emotionally invested in them. And you are driving, your decisions are what are driving the stories. Your inability in a gunfight to prevail means you can't progress the story until you do that. So I like it because it's interactive, because it's not passive, because but getting to the game itself, to answer your question directly, what I love about all of that is somebody comes up with an idea for a game. Again, I'll revert to Last of Us because it's so good. This was very well depicted so well in the show. Okay. But when they were sitting at the beginning of the show talking to that scientist, and I had read years ago, about the Last of Us, about the scientist, the same story. That's why it was cool to see it show up in the show. And what the story was, he was saying, look, there was this very real thing. These like zombie ants or bugs. I don't remember exactly what type of bugs. Not important. But either because they had consumed a fungus or whatever it was, that it had taken over their brains and effectively turned them into kind of zombies that they were no longer in control of their bodies. Now, this was only happening in these insects. It was a very small sample. But somebody, and this is what creatives do, right? Somebody came up with the concept of, what if I applied that to humans?
Yeah.
And so you go from that genesis, something very real and far-fetched sounding, but it was very real in the real world, and you take a small leap and say, could this ever happen to humans? And as you remember, the scientist was interviewed in The Last of Us talking about exactly this. And I was like, that's really cool, because I remember reading about this as the premise of the game itself.
Yeah.
So some creator came up with this concept and said, can we apply that to humans? And then what does it look like? And let's build a game around that. And so what do you then need? What I love doing, to directly answer your question, somebody comes up with an idea like that. Okay, what do they need? Well, we're going to set you up in an entity, LLC, corporation, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Then you're going to go do some contracts. Okay, and the contracts, or in no particular order. Maybe you do investor contracts, right? You get some people to invest in your idea.
Yeah.
We start early with the investors. Okay, the point is we help them with their money, and we help them with the investment structure, the investor relations, and the equity, and all of that sort of stuff, right? And the corporate formation and the formalities, or LLC, whatever. Okay, so we get them in. Now you've got an entity. What do you need? You need contracts, right? You're one person with an idea. I'm going to go out and get some artists. So now we have contracts. Maybe we hire them as employees. Maybe we do independent contractor agreements. But the point is, you've got this developer here, and now he's branching off in this direction. Branch off in this direction, get some investors. Branch off in this direction. The developer becomes the hub of all of this. Yeah. Now we get some contractor or employment agreements. And I'm going to hire people to create the artwork for me. I'm going to hire a writer to create the story for me. I'm going to hire someone to do the music. I'm going to hire somebody to do the concept art. All of these elements start to take shape in there. And then eventually, as you got these ideas, you're like, okay, well, first of all, we need to own all this stuff. There's your work for hire stuff. So now we're going to register the copyrights for everything that you come up with for the artwork and for the story. And we're going to help you do all of that stuff. And then you're like, well, I want to brand this company, or I want to brand the game, or both. So now we got some trademarks. Okay, we're going to go out and we have the company formed, so the company owns everything that we do. Yeah. So we'll go out and we'll get the trademarks at that point. And we'll register the trademarks and help, enforce the trademarks. And, and our work never ends in that, right? Cease and desist letters and all that type of stuff. But so you do all that type of stuff, and it starts really taking shape. And then you've got something. And then you get the interest maybe of a publisher. Or maybe you never even get investors. Maybe you do this stuff yourself, and the publisher comes along and says, I'll finance this. Yeah. And, and then we do the publisher-developer deal. And in the publisher-developer deal, it's like, right, who has creative control and who owns the IP at the end of the day. And then there's the marketing and and the promotion and all the other stuff that happens. But you're watching all of these things build over time until ultimately you get to the point where you can distribute the game. And most games fail, but when a lot of them break even and gives you at least the resources to try again and build something better, building your reputation as a game developer. Some go on to massive success. You know,
Naughty
think of
Dog.
Mojang, right? Like they sold to Microsoft for
That's true,
$2 billion. Some dude comes up with
Minecraft.
just a bunch of blocks and a procedurally generated, more technology.
The simplified version of it actually made it more captivating to play.
Yes.
Simpler.
Yes, well, it made it available, accessible to everybody, right? Kids and adults alike. But the point is that I love being part of that process and seeing that process come out where you see, and I check every single day. I'm on Steam to see what's coming up, who's doing what, and I love monitoring and tracking and watching some of these games. We represented a company, they created the called Punkle. They did a game called Vampire Survivors. It was just one guy creating this game. Not my type of game, but when we went to DICE, you asked about the DICE Awards. We went to DICE, and we get there, and there's the DICE Awards. It's very prestigious, one of the more prestigious, most prestigious moments for gaming, for developers, because their games are getting the accolades after all of this hard work. It leads up to the accolades. And here it was Elden Rings, and it was God of War Ragnarok, and Vampire Survivors. It's like, what is with those AAA titles? What is this game with this one guy doing in that mix? He was nominated for all of these awards, and that's a pretty cool thing, right?
It is cool, man.
And it's rare to watch it come up, but it's really exciting to be part of. It's really exciting to watch. And if I can help and helping do that with the developers is really cool for me to work on these deals, because the one thing that makes me passionate about my work, and I think the one thing that makes anybody passionate about anything that they do, is a love of the subject matter that they're working on. And I love gaming, and I love the subject matter. And that's why I look forward to coming into work every day.